Da 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 da. Hi, I'm Laura Ann Tull, and this is Cognition Season 2, Episode 1, Sedition, no, First Amendment, yes. Sedition is language that incites people to rebel against the legal authority. I think we all know it's been floating around a lot lately because of what happened on January 6th in the Capitol. It's to encourage people to act as a traitor toward the United States. And we all know that there are people who should definitely be punished for that. I don't like the fact that people invaded the White House or the Capitol, or that they were using violence to try to be their message of change. But I also don't like bullying. And I ask that the traitors be punished, but recognize that they have the right to dress as they want. And they have the right to even be in prison and eat what they want. And people can say that's white privilege, but the reality is it doesn't matter the color of your skin. There have actually been cases of Buddhists and Jews and other people who have strict diets who are allowed to, within reason, have their diets respected because of their faith. Most Christians can eat in prison. Most of these people who invaded the Capitol. It's a very small group, at least for now. I keep hoping that more and more people become vegan who have these special diets. Someone from India, someone who's Muslim, can eat pork. Within reason, they have the right to have their religious beliefs respected. And I have, for that matter, health problems. So I knew if I was ever in prison, they could seriously kill me because of the food they give me. As a Democrat, I think it would be hypocritical to say we want democracy, but we not practice the Constitution even against our enemies. We're supposed to be a country about justice and against torture. The world now sees us as hypocrites. We need to remember the Constitution, and we need to rejoin the United Nations and respect the UN Bill of Rights. Yeah, I'm an actor, but I'm also an actor with a law degree who doesn't practice. But I have a unique understanding of what the Constitution is. And I have a unique understanding of especially the First Amendment. My area of expertise in law school is communication law. I quit the legal profession for health reasons. And I had the right to quit the legal profession because of health reasons. I have the right not to want to ever practice law, but apparently for the past 10 years, I have not been allowed the rights and been treated like I'm a criminal because of it. Which is why I don't like lawyers. Lawyers forget that it's not about winning. It's about the Constitution. I want to talk about some other observations I've made. First, we cannot judge people by color anymore in this country. It is not about skin. It's about beliefs. It's about actions. I'm going to participate in Black Lives Matter, not because I do not believe in civil rights. I do. I believe that we all have the Constitution. The civil rights are based on the Constitution. But because I see that groups are being manipulated as tools to fuel hate. And now, granted, white supremacists are all about hate. So just because I say I'm not for Black Lives Matter does not mean I'm for the other side. Because no, I just want to get the group names to go away. Because there are black people using BLM to promulgate their own agenda. And we saw that on January 6th. When a black man helped organize an attempted coup at the Capitol. This man was used by the right to say BLM on the left was responsible. But the BLM said they kicked him out. He was an opportunist. We have to judge him not by the color of his skin, but look seriously at actually what he did and why. I've seen with Twitter trolls calling me Karen, and when I dig into literally, there was this guy online who was calling me names, insinuating I was white privilege, insinuating all this stuff. And they convinced a black woman who was a Democrat to attack me or to troll me. And I said to her, excuse me, you do realize I'm a Democrat. This other person who's telling you about all this stuff about me is actually a GOP Republican. And black Christians who think Obama was Islamic and not American and are pro-GOP. And I've had black women here who have said to me that they think that Obama isn't who he says he is. And I'm like, have you read really into what he did while he was president? Do you understand that we got bin Laden? What would happen in Cuba with Guantanamo and the prisoners there? I just saw a movie, actually, everyone should see. I'm going to say it wrong. The Manchurian. Manchuan? It's about one of the men who supposedly organized bin Laden's, who organized the 9/11, but who actually didn't. And about his story and how he was tortured at Cuba. And the fact, and it's a really good movie, but the punchline is really in the what happens after the last scene, in the what's said in these little like placard cards, you know, the ones you read at the end of the movie. By the way, 5 years from now, I'm not going to give it away, but watch the movie and then read them. I think it'll open up a lot of people's eyes. I kind of want white privilege and Black Lives Matter to go away, because those fights are forgetting about Asians, Native Americans, women with disability, women and the disabled. Not only that, but it's been recently pointed out based on a conversation online about a movie. They've just cast a Chinese woman to play a Hawaiian. Disney has. Well, here's the problem. Hawaiians are not Asian. They're Aboriginal. They have more probably genetically in common with people in Australia than they do in China. That's true. It's a fact. The Native Americans of Hawaiian are more related to people in the islands between Australia and Hawaii than they do with China. There are more races on the planet than just black, white, Asian. There are Native Americans. There are other groups. There are smaller, different genetic groups. We are a lot more diverse than our media wants to project. A lot more diverse than maybe we want to accept, but it's true. Okay, I said that. Plus, okay, then there's the 99% who are just getting by. Remember the 99% movement? And suddenly they're privileged? Like, isn't only 1% of the country that's supposedly privileged, and yet suddenly all of a sudden everyone who's white is privileged and everyone else isn't? And it kind of acts as like a negative. It makes me feel really disgusted about myself. It doesn't make me feel good about me. And that's not a way to win people over by saying, well, you're white privileged, therefore we can take everything away from you. You don't have the right to your college education anymore because you're white privileged and I deserve it, even though I didn't work for it. Think about that. For me, that's a message that people have been telling me, because someone said I'm not white privileged enough to be SAG-AFTRA. Really? What does that say? I was born on the wrong side of the tracks? Does that mean I'm part of the 99%, not part of the 1% who get to be a working actor? Isn't that the same thing as a white privileged man saying, I deserve to have your rights because you're a woman? I deserve to spit on you because you're not good enough? Or a black woman or white person saying to a black person, you're not good enough because you're black. Well, now you're not good enough because you're white privileged. I don't like that. And I don't think people realize that that's how it's coming across to me, because and whoever was attacking me was white. So I had a white person online saying, I'm not white privileged enough to be SAG-AFTRA. Because they are. And those same people are somehow winning over blacks saying, well, they're right. You're right. She's not good enough. And yet you're in this black movement that wants me to feel like I should be on your side. And I want to be on your side. And this disgust would also include celebrities who are part of the 1%. Think about that. We like people who we see on television without really knowing who they are or what they're about. We make assumptions. I've done that. I don't know how many people I have been totally disgusted with. Like actors who I liked when I was a kid because I watched their television show and finding out that they're actually really Trump supporters. And I'm like, oh, really? Him? He is? Oh, but I liked him in that role. Okay. And you just wake up to the reality of that. And I'm an actor too, so I know I don't play the characters that are, like I play characters and well, that's not really me. I would never actually say that to somebody. I'm not really that person. Because what actors are. We play characters. We pretend to be somebody else. And to me, it's not lying. It's me doing an art form. But then you wake up to the reality of the fact that you can't assume that because you can relate to the character the actor plays, that they really are that person. I love acting. I love pretending. I love being in my imagination. But I don't want you to think that that's who I really am. I just want you to be able to enjoy the work that I do when I get to do it, which is rare now. And I don't know if I'll ever get to do it again. I'm kind of heartbroken. When I said I was heartbroken, by the way, about Hollywood, it wasn't about a man. It was about me loving myself. About me being able to say, hey, this is me. Okay. And again, focus on this 99% movement that we had that's completely been ripped apart. We all need dignity. We all need free expression. We all need Maslow's needs to be a part of our lives. And look that up, because there's been different changing views on the Maslow's. They're basic principles that a psychologist has come up with. Actually, it was originally a psychologist, but like one of those business gurus kind of made it into this triangle thing. The original Maslow's needs was basically the idea that we as human beings don't need more than just our basic needs. We need a sense of self-worth. Like, we need a sense that we have our own identity. I need a sense that if I want to wear pink, I can wear pink. And you can't tell me what my favorite color is, because it's my choice. I said being part of the 1% for education, too, because I technically am Phi Beta Kappa. I went to college on full scholarship. And part of me wants to think that, yeah, maybe I did earn that because I'm white. But I had parents who didn't care. Like, I had parents who didn't care because I was a woman. I had GOP parents who wouldn't have mattered if I failed out of school. I honestly think they would have been happier if I failed out, because then they could make me marry someone, have babies, and I'd be a pathetic housewife somewhere. And the reality is my life has been wasted by people trying to make me be less intelligent than I am. I had so much I had to offer as a creative person. I don't have anything to offer. You want me to spend the rest of my life, doing paperwork for an environmental organization, doing research about stuff that there are more qualified people who could do that research, like scientists who actually studied years for biology and studied years about stuff about the environment, who know more about it, when I would rather be writing articles about art and talking about art and playing characters and maybe writing a script about environmental espionage. My very first script I ever wrote has to do with a murder that happened in a lumber camp. I'm digressing, but I'm not rich. I'm not wealthy. So for me, I'm not privileged. I'm just smart, and it's genetic. It's nothing to do with privilege. It has everything to do with the fact that I worked hard and got an education. People are being swept up in cults, cult-like movements, and people are against democracy because of it. These cults have been kind of used as a tool for propaganda. Foreign countries who want to rip apart democracy to feed despots are giving them power. I would not be surprised if in the long run we don't find that some of the people who invaded the Capitol were foreign agents of some kind. And it's too bad the right, who claims to be so patriotic, is blind to the fact that they've been used as a tool. I don't think it's a coincidence. There has been a growing number of authoritarian regimes, rulers acting as kings. We see it in North Korea, the Philippines, and in growing unrest. Those individuals want to keep power. And they can't do that if there's a country out there that everyone's looking to and say, we could be democracy like them over there. Why don't we do that? We used to be a source of hope, and we have been so traumatized over the last 4 years, the outside world, we backslid to more human rights violations. And we had human rights violations. I've read UN reports. I lived in D.C. for 10 years. I knew people who were affiliated with organizations with the UN. I was involved with groups online about women's issues at one point. So I would read these commentaries. And people think I'm crazy when I say that, but it's true. The celebrities in Hollywood think that, I'm not one of them, therefore I can't. In D.C., D.C.'s a different world. When in D.C., you don't spit, hit a lawyer. Actually, D.C., you do spit, you hit a lawyer. You don't find any celebrities in D.C. You find politicians. You find people like me who can connect with people who are working for the UN and who are working for organizations, who are actually making changes. And on one hand, I liked it. On the other hand, I felt like I wasn't allowed to be in my imagination and I didn't feel comfortable. So people, I guess, think I want to go back to that world because that's where I belong. And the reality is I felt like I belonged more on a Hollywood studio set or somewhere in between. We are on the wrong side of history. And I hope that changes. We need to get back to being the heroes of the world and not the enemy of everyone. We need to go back to starting building bridges of hope instead of tearing them down. I don't believe there's a Q. You know, the QAnon? Okay, maybe there's a Q as in Star Trek. You know, somebody should ought to make a comparison, right? Some sort of thing where you've got that Q guy on. I wonder if that's where they got the name from. You know, Q from Star Trek? Because some of the Star Trek fans are really extremists. Some of them, a very small group. I mean, let's just look at certain people with the White House and the GOP movement who are Star Trek fans. I'm thinking, you can't be a Star Trek fan. That just goes against the values. But there's a character called Q who's like this guy in this secret, like, organization that's pulling strings. And we have this thing called QAnon, which I don't think really exists. I'm a history buff, but I can't think of a time in history when so many people were manipulated on a large scale to believe in something that may not exist or does not exist. The only thing that comes to mind for this mass hysteria is Hitler in Germany, who convinced the Germans they were the master race. Isn't that what everyone is trying? Isn't that what the people saying that our current, like, POTUS 45 is appointed by God? Doesn't that smack of the same thing? Think about that. I honestly think that many of the traitors are mentally ill and are not only in need of jail time, but psychological care. And I have been labeled crazy by Christians online who have recently tried to be my friend. And when I rejected them because I did not share my beliefs, suddenly get like, you need help. As if me seeing a psychologist would suddenly change my political and artistic views and change me to be someone who could be their friend. I'm not friends with my parents. We are not buddies. We do not get along. We never have. And my parents still think that somehow I'm eventually going to have dinner with them and we're going to have a polite conversation. We never connected. Even when I lived under their roof, I felt more like my father would barge in my room and tell me that everything that I had, he could take away. I was never his daughter. I was his property. And that is not going to change. A psychologist is not going to make me be subservient to him. A psychologist is not going to make me accept the fact that I have no right to my own choices in my life. My mother keeps saying, well, who's controlling you? And I'm like, do you understand the fact that my father has said I'm his property? And my father has said no one likes me and doesn't want anybody to like me? And yet he says he hasn't been nasty or bad to me. I'm not going to get therapy to cure me of being a person who doesn't want to be bullied anymore. I'm not going to be therapy to get to that I can be beaten up and abused and accept the fact that my fate is to be treated as though I don't have the right to human dignity and I don't have the right to say I have the right to an opinion. I'm not going to get therapy to give up being a secularist. I'm not going to get therapy so I'm forced to be a WASP. I'm not a WASP. I have been involved with occult Scientology, Christianity. I'm not for socialism because you really do not have the right to tell me I need to participate the way you want in society. I understand the right's perspective on socialism. I understand why they have a problem with it. If, as a person, you want to be something like a movie maker, an artist, a chef, but then you have skills with some kind of, say you're actually good at math, but you hate it. And then someone comes along and said, yeah, but we need you as a mathematician. I'm like, well, I hate it. I'm like, I don't care. We don't need you as a cook. That's what socialism feels like to some people. Where instead of allowing someone to decide, well, what makes me happy? And people keep trying to twist it and say, well, you shouldn't be pursuing what you're passionate about. Forget about pursuing happiness, but our very Constitution says we have the right to do that. I'm for health care. That has nothing to do with socialism. It's to stop people from suffering. It's not controlling my choices in my life or what I do with my time or telling me what my career is. It's giving people health care so they can be healthy. And our health system is screwed up because it's so based on money and pharma. Like, I have a condition that requires me to be on medication that isn't approved for my condition because it's cheap. The medication I take is cheap. I got a doctor to give it to me because I'm a special case, because I'm allergic to meat, and therefore I cannot have the medicine that they would normally give for my condition. It would make me sick and kill me. That's the truth. Everyone been trying to make me be a meat eater, and meanwhile I'm actually allergic to it. I tested positive as allergic to pork. And I've discovered by reading online that a lot of times people who are allergic to pork are also sensitive or allergic to beef, lamb, and any other mammalian meat. Which may be why when I switched to chicken and fish, because at one point I was I just ate chicken and I just ate fish. Eggs and dairy are problematic. They make me sick too. But if I switched to those meats and that's all I ate, I was fine. But every time I tried to go vegan and I was eating the wrong foods as vegan because I didn't know I needed to stay away from gluten, and every time I tried to go back to eating meat, I got sick because I was allergic. Every time I'd go visit my parents, I think my parents were subtly slipping into my diet stuff that they thought would be good for me because it was meat, and they're really making me sick. You can't judge. You can't put people in boxes. You can't put a person's body into a box. Not everyone can eat the same stuff. I think I've lost my way right now. But I honestly think that many of the traders are mentally ill, again, and I have been involved with cults, and slavery is over. And to me, socialism can turn into slavery, where people are manipulated to think they have control over their life, but are told who they are and what they're required to do for the betterment of all. That is 1984. Regardless of whether or not it's the socialism on the far right or far left, that is a lot of times fueled by the same kind of religion, the religious fever that is on the right. Like, I have met liberals on the left who are liberal about healthcare and stuff like that, but they are just as religious as the right. And so from their perspective, they actually think that because they believe in a God, that they have the right, that they're anointed by some religion, just like the right is. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work for me. I want the world to be better. I want everyone to start believing in science and climate change. I believe I have an obligation to do what I can. But I also have an obligation to myself to do what makes me sane and what keeps me happy. And that's what everyone has forgotten. While I've been tortured and abused and bullied and silenced, and no one wants to hear my voice, and everyone wants me to disappear. If I were a man, I'd have a future as an actor. And people apparently want me to die before I'm 60. I'm supposed to be dead by now. Because I need to understand the fact that you're just not supposed to live long, Laura, and be happy. Women's lives are cut short by the right. Women's lives are cut short by men in this country who don't realize the fact that maybe we had other things we wanted to accomplish. I did. And I had someone online tell me, but you've got it forever. I'm thinking, no, I don't. I'm never going to have a child now because of everything. And I don't want a child with someone who isn't intelligent and smart and strong. I don't want a child with a rapist. You don't have the right to push yourself in my life and tell me I'm yours. I'm not yours. I never will be. I believe we all should have hope. Really, hope. That we have the right to love ourselves. That we have the right to be ourselves. I understand the fear by the right that is being told of what to believe, but I also know, as the daughter of a narcissistic GOP members, that they don't seem to have the understanding that I have the right to walk away and be my own person. The founding fathers created the First Amendment because the practice of religion, different from a state's religion, was to be executed. People were being murdered in states due to their beliefs. It is not right that Americans think that violence is the answer to being allowed to be Christian in America when you have the right to be Christian. You just don't have the right to make everyone else be Christian. You don't. That is the difference. You don't have the right to make this a Christian nation. That is unconstitutional. That is being a traitor. You don't have the right to make everyone be who you want to be. That is violating the very core of our Constitution. The Founding Fathers did not create this country to be a country of hate. They did not create this country to believe in one God. They created this country to be a democracy where you can be who you want to be, where I can be who I want to be. We all have the right to artistic expression. Do everyone understand that? Free speech is free expression. We have the right to be free to say who we are and express ourselves, but not the right to violate other people's rights to be themselves, and not the right to be violent against each other. Tomorrow, 13 hours from, 12 hours and 40 minutes from now that I'm recording this, we are going to have a new president and a new vice president. We're going to have the first female black vice president. We should be proud of that moment. So please, and I don't pray because I don't believe in praying, but please, because I don't believe that my praying is going to do anything, because I'm not going to be able to stop you from doing what you want to do tomorrow. No one act with violence tomorrow. Let it be a day of peace. This country deserves that. And if you act with violence tomorrow because you think you have the right to, you don't. And you will deserve to be in jail for the rest of your life if you do. Peace out. This is Cognition. Think. Use what's up here and in here. Thank you. Think. Dot 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 da 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 da.